small garden decor with recycled items, budget-friendly and unique ideas. When we look at a small garden, the immediate impression may be one of restriction, less space, fewer opportunities, and limited design freedom. Yet, a closer perspective reveals that a compact outdoor space can be an expansive field for creativity and innovation. With thoughtful vision and resourceful design, a small garden becomes not just an extension of the home, but a canvas for storytelling, a reflection of sustainable choices, and a showcase of unique architectural character. This transformation happens most strikingly when old, repurposed items are introduced into the design. The foundation of this approach lies in a broader architectural and cultural philosophy. Across history, architecture and landscape design have mirrored human values, lifestyles, and aspirations. In the present day, three values dominate the global design conversation: minimalism, sustainability, and emotional connection to the environment. Repurposing old household items within a garden aligns perfectly with all three. It allows for simplicity in form, avoids waste and overconsumption, and builds spaces rich in sentiment and memory. Rather than being bound by catalog options or retail trends, a garden designed this way embodies originality, individuality, and a sense of timelessness. Each repurposed item carries a story that becomes part of the garden's atmosphere. A ladder, worn smooth by years of use, can lean against a wall as a multi-tiered plant display while reminding us of its practical past. A watering can, speckled with rust, can cradle a cascade of flowers, turning utility into beauty. A cracked teacup that once held countless breakfasts can hold fresh soil and herbs, inviting continuity between past moments and present growth. These objects do more than decorate. They ground the garden in memory, giving it depth and humanity. This principle is often referred to as adaptive reuse in architectural discourse. It describes the process of taking structures or materials designed for one purpose and giving them new life in a different role. On an urban scale, mean converting old factories into loft apartments or cultural spaces. On the garden scale, it can be as simple as transforming a dresser into a vertical planter, a chair with a broken seat into a floral display, or a bed frame into a trellis for roses and climbing vines. Each adaptation is an act of reinvention, making the familiar surprising and fresh. For small gardens, this practice is not just charming, but essential. Compact spaces require solutions that maximize every inch while avoiding clutter. Vertical gardening, for example, becomes a natural strategy. An old ladder becomes a living tower of greenery, drawing the eye upward and creating the illusion of expansiveness. Salvaged shutters fixed to a fence can support hanging pots, doubling as both structure and decoration. Even discarded frames or mirrors can be incorporated, framing clusters of flowers or reflecting light to amplify the perception of space. These choices turn spatial limitation into design opportunity, blending architecture, craft, and ecology in seamless harmony. Through repurposing, a small garden becomes far more than a decorative corner. It transforms into a living narrative of sustainability, creativity, and identity. Each old item is not simply reused, but reimagined, woven into a space that is practical, aesthetic, and emotionally resonant. This is the essence of modern garden design, a space that is not bound by scale, but defined by vision, where the smallest patch of green can become limitless in character and inspiration. The success of a small garden lies not only in its ability to accommodate plants, but also in the way it establishes atmosphere, rhythm, and flow. When old items are introduced into this environment, they do more than save space or provide structure. They define the character of the garden. They turn utility into artistry and create points of interest that guide the eye and invite interaction. This is where the design becomes experiential, blending visual beauty with tactile presence and storytelling. Repurposed containers are among the most versatile tools in this approach. Wooden crates, enamel basins, metal buckets, and even wheelbarrows can be converted into planters, each offering a distinct texture and personality. Unlike uniform store-bought pots, these vessels carry imperfections, patinas, and histories that enrich the visual language of the garden. A mismatched series of teapots arranged on a shelf, each planted with herbs or succulents, can transform a corner into a playful and intimate vignette. Every vessel introduces variation in form and scale, turning the planting arrangement into a layered composition. This method is not only budget-conscious but also emotionally resonant, giving every bloom a frame of meaning. Furniture, too, plays a critical role in this reimagined environment. An old chair with a broken seat can cradle a burst of cascading flowers, acting as both sculpture and planter. A discarded dresser, repainted and positioned outdoors, can host drawers of soil and seasonal blossoms, creating a vertical layering effect that animates the space. Even the seemingly obsolete form of a metal bed frame can rise again as a trellis, supporting climbing roses, ivy, or morning glories, transforming its structure into a romantic centerpiece. Each of these reinventions adds architectural depth, bridging the domestic interior with the wildness of nature. Vertical solutions are especially powerful for compact outdoor areas. Old ladders stand as perfect examples, leaned against a wall, fitted with planks across the rungs, and filled with an array of potted plants. They become sculptural installations that lift greenery into the vertical plane. This not only economizes on ground area, but also redefines spatial perception, making a narrow courtyard feel taller and more expansive. Salvaged shutters mounted on walls or fences serve as both support and ornament, their weathered surfaces hosting hooks for garden tools, lanterns, or suspended planters. In this way, the vertical dimension becomes activated, ensuring that no surface goes unused. Decorative accents emerge as the finishing touches that personalize and energize the space. A vintage picture frame affixed to a fence can showcase a flowering vine as though it were a living painting. A bicycle wheel reclaimed from storage can become a striking support for trailing plants, a functional object reborn as sculpture. Even fractured mirrors, when carefully positioned, can expand light, reflect foliage, and create illusions of depth, turning a confined corner into what feels like a boundless vista. These details are subtle but transformative, providing layers of intrigue that encourage viewers to linger and discover. Lighting, meanwhile, introduces an entirely new dimension of atmosphere. Mason jars, jam jars, or other discarded glass vessels can be adapted into lanterns with simple tea lights or modern solar LEDs. Suspended from tree branches or shepherd's hooks, they glow warmly as twilight falls, infusing the garden with a sense of intimacy and wonder. More ambitious designs might feature a vintage chandelier, stripped of wiring and refitted with candles, suspended from a pergola to create a centerpiece that feels theatrical yet affordable. These forms of light are not just functional, they are emotional, sculpting the garden's mood from day into evening. Every design decision in this philosophy celebrates imperfection as a strength. The rust, the chipped paint, the faded wood, these are not flaws to be concealed, but features to be embraced. They echo the Japanese concept of wabi-sabi, where transience and imperfection are valued as expressions of authenticity and beauty. In the garden, these qualities harmonize with nature's cycles, making the entire space feel lived in, enduring, and genuine. It is not about pristine order or glossy perfection, but about creating a landscape that breathes with personality. The environmental benefits of this approach cannot be overlooked. Every object repurposed is one less object discarded, one less demand for newly manufactured goods. The garden becomes a microcosm of sustainable practice, where creativity reduces waste and aesthetics align with ecological responsibility. For those conscious of climate impact, this design method is not only stylish but also ethically sound, proving that beauty and sustainability are not in conflict, but can thrive together. As the garden evolves, the sense of personal authorship becomes unmistakable. Unlike a space furnished entirely by retail selections, a garden crafted with old items is irreproducible. It cannot be duplicated in another yard or catalog. Each object chosen, each placement considered, reflects the taste, memory, and imagination of its creator. This results in spaces that feel intimate, authentic, and deeply human. Gardens not of convention, but of character, where every detail tells a story and every corner feels alive with meaning. future of small garden design is increasingly shaped by a dialogue between tradition and innovation, sustainability and aesthetics, memory and modernity. Repurposing old items within these intimate spaces is not only a design choice rooted in practicality, but also a reflection of emerging global trends that value individuality, eco-conscious living, and emotional connection to the environment. As architectural and lifestyle patterns continue to evolve, the small garden becomes a testing ground for ideas that merge creativity with responsibility, producing environments that feel both timeless and forward-looking. In the coming years, the emphasis on sustainable practices will grow stronger, and gardens will serve as showcases of how circular design principles can be implemented at a personal scale. Repurposed items embody these principles perfectly. They extend the life cycle of objects, reduce consumption, and prevent waste. Beyond functionality, they align with a cultural desire for authenticity in a world of mass production. Future garden trends will celebrate the uniqueness of handcrafted, imperfect, or weathered elements, placing them at the center of design rather than at its periphery. A chipped basin planter or a rusted iron trellis will not be seen as makeshift, but as a statement of mindful design. Technology will also play a supporting role by harmonizing with the rustic charm of repurposed elements. Solar-powered lighting, smart irrigation systems, and modular planting units can coexist alongside antique ladders, vintage drawers, and upcycled chandeliers. The contrast between the old and the new will create a layered narrative, a garden where history and innovation meet. This juxtaposition reflects broader architectural trends where heritage buildings are integrated with modern additions, creating dialogues across time. In a small garden, this translates into the fusion of digital convenience with tangible nostalgia, offering functionality without losing character. Cultural preferences in outdoor living are moving towards spaces that support well-being and community. The small garden of the future will not only be a retreat, but also a place for interaction, creativity, and healing. Repurposed items contribute to this by providing conversation pieces and sparking imagination. A bicycle wheel turned into a climbing support, or a dresser reborn as a vertical planter invites curiosity, storytelling, and shared appreciation. These design gestures remind visitors that beauty does not require excess. It requires vision and intentionality. The psychological impact of such gardens should not be underestimated. In a world often dominated by digital screens and abstract connections, tactile encounters with old objects and natural elements can ground us. Touching the grain of weathered wood, seeing light refract through a repurposed jar, or smelling herbs sprouting from a chipped teacup creates sensory richness. These are not passive experiences, but active engagements that restore balance and foster mindfulness. As more people seek restorative spaces, the role of small gardens designed with repurposed items will continue to expand as havens of calm and inspiration. From a stylistic perspective, future garden trends will lean toward eclecticism. Strictly uniform designs are giving way to layered compositions that embrace contrast and diversity. Repurposed items are inherently eclectic, introducing irregularity, asymmetry, and surprise. A garden that combines a vintage chandelier with modern solar lights or rustic shutters with sleek steel planters speaks to a broader design ethos. Harmony is found not in sameness, but in the dialogue between differences. This philosophy resonates across architecture, interior design, and landscaping, reinforcing the idea that beauty emerges from complexity and individuality. Economic factors will also reinforce this design path. As urban living spaces grow smaller and budgets tighter, the ability to create striking gardens without heavy financial investment becomes invaluable. Repurposing old items offers exactly this, an economical route to beauty, functionality, and personalization. For homeowners, renters, or city dwellers, the small garden becomes a laboratory of affordable luxury, where imagination outweighs expenditure. The modest teapot planter or salvaged ladder display proves that creativity, not cost, defines the success of design. Ultimately, decorating a small garden with old items is not simply a trend, but a philosophy of living. It celebrates history, resourcefulness, and the intimate relationship between people and their environment. It teaches that imperfection is beauty, that simplicity is sophistication, and that sustainability can be stylish. As design continues to evolve, The small garden will remain a vital stage where these values are enacted, reminding us that even the smallest patch of green can tell stories, carry memories, and inspire futures. With every chipped cup, rusted wheel, or weathered ladder, the garden becomes more than a space. It becomes a living narrative of creativity, resilience, and joy.